everyone, we've got the third maths lesson for our first week of home learning here. Okay, so let's get started with our retrieval questions. So the first question is, what is the value? Can you have a look at how many tens and how many ones there are? Question 2, which shows 61. Again, look at the number of tens and ones to help you. Question 3, can you write down the value of each coin? How much are they each worth? And the last one, which one would take longer, a longer amount of time to do? Writing your name or counting to 20? Can you predict which one would be longer? And then maybe have a go and time them and see which one really takes you longer. Okay, I'll pause the video, give yourself 5 minutes to get on with these questions. Okay, so hopefully you've had a go. The first one, there are 2 tens and 4 ones. So the answer would be 24. 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. The second question asks you which shows 61. Well, that's 6 tens and 1 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tens and 1 1. It looks like it's A. Let's have a look. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 61. Yes. If you put B, that's 1 10 and 6 ones. That would be 16, and we weren't looking for that number, were we? What are these coins? Well, the first one is a 20p. So don't just write 20, you need the P for pence as well. The middle one is 1p or 1 pence. And the last one is 50p or 50 pence. Okay, make sure you wrote the P on the end of all of those. Now, I wonder which did take you longer, writing your name or counting to 20. Hopefully you've found out. Okay, moving on to our fluency part of the lesson. We need to remember what value is. Value is how much something is worth. Can you say that with me? Value is how much something is worth. Now you tell me, what's value? Okay, so in our fluency part of the lesson today, we're going to be looking at place value. And in question 1, I've got a number card. It says 26. So I'm going to write question 1. Then I'm not going to draw the number card, but I am going to make myself a tens and ones grid. And into that, I'm going to write the number 26. The 2-digit comes first and the 6-digit next. So if we look, we've got T for tens. We know we need 2 tens and 6 ones. If we were at school, we'd be using Deans to make this, but we haven't got Deans with us today, so we're going to have to draw them instead. So I'm going to draw 2 tens by making 2 lines. So this is 1 10, 2 tens. So these look a bit like the long tens rods. And then 6 ones. I'm going to draw them as little squares. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've made number 26 by drawing 2 tens rods and 6 ones. Okay, so number 2 is 17. So again, I'm going to write my question number, do my tens and ones grid, put the number in. The 1 comes first, the 7 comes next. And this time we can see I need 1 10 and 7 ones. Remember, the O is for ones. I'll just write the word so you can see how it starts with an O. Tens and ones. T for tens, O for ones. So 1 10 and 7 ones. So I'm going to draw my tens rod for 1 10 and then 7 ones. I'm going to draw those as little squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So when you do questions, you need to have the question number, your tens and ones grid with the numbers in it. You won't need to write these words, okay? And you need to draw your Deans. 1 10 and 7 ones. Okay, let's move on to question 3. Question 3. Remember to draw your bracket around your question number. T in one square in your book, O in the other. Draw lines to make your grid and put in the number 35. 3 first, 5 next. So we can see 35 has 3 tens. So let's draw 3 tens rods. 1, 2, 3. And 5 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Question 4. Okay, can you tell your parent how you're going to do this one? What are you going to draw first? That's right, you need a tens and ones grid. Okay, can you put the number in before I do? Yep, the number's 63. So 6 first, then 3. Can you tell your parent how many tens we need? Look. Yep, tens we need 6 of. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tens. Now don't get confused, we're not doing tallies, so you don't need to do one going across like we do for a tally mark. These are just representing Dean's rods that we would normally put on our table, so they just all go next to each other. So 6 tens, and we need how many ones? Yep, 3. 1, 2, 3. So you have it 63, 6 tens and 3 ones. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 61, 62, 63. Okay, time for our worked example. So if you can put WE in your book, do your tens and ones grid. Put in the number, it says 23, 2 comes first, 3 comes next. Okay, so how many tens are we going to draw? T for tens, 2. So let's all draw 2 tens. 1, 2. And then O for ones, how many do we need? 3. Let's draw 3 ones. 1, 2, 3. So this makes 10, 20, 21, 22, 23 from 2 tens and 3 ones. Okay, so next you need to work with your parent. We haven't got number cards, so what you're going to have to do is ask your parent to give you any 2-digit number. You can write it down into a tens and ones grid, and then you can draw your tens rods and your ones to show that value. Okay, see how many different numbers you can get done in the next 10 minutes. Okay, you'll have to get your parents to mark them for you. See if you've got the right number of tens and the right number of ones. Okay, so I'll pause the video while you get on with that for 10 minutes. Okay, so hopefully you've had a good go at that place value fluency. Now we're going to move on to time. So if you could write that title in your book or on your paper. And we're going to have a look at some clocks. Remember, you can pause the video anytime you need to write anything down. Okay, so let's have a look at this first clock. There are 2 hands on the clock. There's a longer hand, which is the minute hand, and a shorter hand, which is the hour hand. So we're going to look at the minute hand first. If you can see on this clock, the minute hand's pointing right to the very top of the clock. That tells us that it's something o'clock. Okay, we definitely know it's something o'clock. But what o'clock? Well, to find out, we have to look at the shorter hour hand. What number is it pointing straight at? It's pointing straight at 9, isn't it? So number 1, the time is 9, as shown by the short hour hand, o'clock. We know that because the longer minute hand is pointing to the top of the clock. So number one, the time is 9 o'clock. Look, it's got a clickety-clack digraph on the end of it, a C and a K on the end of clock. Clock. Okay, question 2. have a look again. So look at the longer minute hand first. It's pointing again right to the top of the clock, so we know it's something o'clock. Where's the hour hand pointing? It's pointing to 1. So the time is 1 o'clock. So whenever you see a clock with the minute hand, the longer hand pointing straight to the top of the clock, you know it's something o'clock. Question 3. Wonder if you can tell your parents how you would do it. What is the longer minute hand showing you? That's right, it's right at the top of the clock, so it's something o'clock. Look at the hour hand. What's that telling you? It's pointing to number 10. So the time is 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Question 4. Again, have a look at the minute hand. It's pointing to the top of the clock. What does that tell you? And the hour hand is pointing to number 5. So we know that the time is 5 because the hour hand's pointing to 5 o'clock because the longer minute hand is pointing to the top of the clock. 5 o'clock. Okay, so these are some that you need to do. You need to work out what the time is on all of these clocks. You'll need to look at the longer minute hand and at the shorter hour hand. Remember, if the minute hand, the longer hand's at the top, it must be something o'clock. You don't need to draw the clocks. You just need to write your answers. So let's do number 1 as our worked example. The longer minute hand's at the top, so that means, it's o'clock. The hour hand's on 3, so what o'clock is it? It's 3 o'clock. So this is all you need to write in your book for number 1. 3 o'clock. Okay, so you can give yourself about 15 minutes to see if you can get the rest of those times written down in your book. Okay, pause the video while you do it. Okay, so let's go through the answers now. So number 1 was 3 o'clock. Number 2 is 1 o'clock. Number 3 is 5 o'clock. Remember, the minute hand's at the top, so it's o'clock. The hour hand's on the 5, so it must be 5 o'clock. Number 4 is 7 o'clock. Number 5 is 6 o'clock. Number 6 is 2 o'clock. Number 7 is 4 o'clock. Number 8 is 9 o'clock. Number 10 is 12 o'clock. Both hands are there, it's just that one's on top of the other. The longer hand's pointing to the top for o'clock and the shorter hour hand's pointing to 12. It's 12 o'clock. Number 10 is 10 o'clock. Number 11 is 8 o'clock. And number 12 is 11 o'clock. Okay, let's do a quick bit of reasoning. Which clock shows 1 o'clock? And how do we know? Well, if I have a look at those clocks, they've both got minute hands pointing to the clock, to the top, so they're both something o'clock. A, the hour hand's pointing to 10 for 10 o'clock. B, the hour hand is pointing to 1 for 1 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock that I needed to find, so the answer is B. Question 2, which clock shows 8 o'clock? Well, in the first clock, A, there isn't a hand at the top, so it can't be o'clock. The minute hand's at the bottom. It's never at the bottom for o'clock, so that's definitely not 8 o'clock. What about the second one? Yep, the minute hand's at the top, o'clock. The hour hands are 8 o'clock. So the clock that shows 8 o'clock is B. Number 3, which clock shows 5 o'clock? I wonder which one you think it is. Have they both got the minute hand at the top? Yep, they have. They're both something o'clock. This one's got an hour hand on 5, so what time does that say? And this one's got an hour hand on 10, so what time does that say? So which one is it, A or B, that shows 5 o'clock? Yeah, I think it's this one. 5, the hour hand pointing to 5, the minute hand on the top for o'clock, 5 o'clock, it's A. Number 4, which clock shows 10 o'clock? Can you explain to your parent how you know which one shows 10 o'clock? Well, I think it's probably A, because it's got a hand at the top for o'clock and an hour hand on 10 o'clock. This one doesn't have a minute hand at the top. The minute hand's at the bottom, so it can't be anything o'clock. It's definitely not B. It's A that shows 10 o'clock. Okay, this is your last one for the day. Which clock shows 7 o'clock and how do you know? Okay, well, I'm hoping you've chosen B. It has the minute hand at the top for o'clock and the hour hand on 7 o'clock. This one does not have a minute hand at the top, it's at the bottom, so it's not 7 o'clock. The answer was B. Okay, I'll see you all tomorrow for the next lesson. Bye.